Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting for Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. It's 9:05 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my left is Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier, Commissioner Gary Edwards, Commissioner Emily Klaus, and Commissioner Carolina Mejia is on Zoom. We have our County Manager, Leonard Hernandez, and our Assistant County Managers, Robin Campbell and Rob Gelder. Public virtual attendance available on the Thurston County YouTube channel. We're pretty sure. We're recording as well, just in case there's some interruption in the live stream. We have 3 hours. We'll take a break about halfway through. First up is reviewing this afternoon's draft agenda. And so we'll pull that forward and call that meeting to order at 2 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Mejia. We'll approve the agenda. And first up will be presentation regarding the 2024 Art Contest recognition. And how is that going to be structured?
We have confirmed all of the winners will be in attendance this afternoon.
Oh, wow.
And so we intend to put some of their art out in front and they will get recognized.
And we have a certificate for all of them, so you'll sign that later as well.
Taylor, your name is here. Are you speaking like kind of as an over?
Both are.
To give, okay, you guys are going to give kind of an overview of the, okay, so I'll call you forward.
We have a script with it all if you'd like. You can read the names of the winners or we can read the names of the winners.
You guys can do it. It's totally fine, and that'll be fun. Any questions on that? Okay. As I mentioned last week, I have a short, I'll just make a short comment that tomorrow's Juneteenth holiday and some few comments that Dee helped me with. And so just recognizing that holiday and letting folks know about the closure of county offices. And then we'll have opportunity for public to address the board. I know there's an anticipation that we may have a full house today. So if, depending on how many people, I might cut public comment to 3 minutes if there's 25, 30 or plus people. But we'll get through all of that, and then we'll have county managers update. Is there anything? Okay.
That being said, you know, as we go through the agenda, can we like look for opportunities to move more onto the consent calendar? If there's anything possible, because I think it's going to be a long meeting.
It's a long meeting. We have 2 public hearings. They're not public hearings where I anticipate much public comment, but it takes time to go through them. So yeah, if anything looks like it's appropriate for consent, just anyone can pipe up and we can discuss that.
And Chair, the clerk and I are working to put together some guidelines based on the commissioner's desire to see items on consent. And so we're working on that right now. We'll have something probably after the recess to talk.
Okay, so it'll be ad hoc for today, and then you'll have some guidelines next month. Okay, so consent item 3A is a sheriff's office item. Obviously, a lot of this stuff we've reviewed at least once, if not 2 or 3 times, but Chief, or no, under sheriff, I don't know who is, can you speak to the single source purchase item? Oh, Sheriff Sanders here as well. Awesome. All right, good morning, gentlemen. First item is single source purchase grappler system. I know we've reviewed this, but anything else to add? Anything different?
Nothing different. In April, we approached the board for single source procurement of 6 grappler systems and some star chase systems. In May, reached out to us, risk management, and advised that they had an additional $39,550 that they were going to give to us as a grant to purchase some more purchase technology. So this single source request is to purchase an additional 4 grappler systems for $39,475. That'll be for 4 systems and 15 extra nets. That would give our agency 10 total grappler systems with 15 extra nets to replenish those.
Any questions?
You'd mentioned there's another grant coming.
Yeah, we've received notification from Department of Commerce that we've received up to $150,000 for additional systems. So we'll be back in front of you guys again for another single source acquisition.
Awesome.
It's preliminary, but we did get the email.
All right, well then let's go on to the next item. It's also Sheriff's Office item, Amendment 1 to Summit Law Group P LLC contract.
think I'm on task for this. So I'll join the party up here.
Is this a new item?
It is a no item, yes, so this was added on since last week. This is an amendment to a contract that was signed by the sheriff's office. So I met with you in executive session early in the year regarding a labor grievance that was going to arbitration to where we needed outside counsel on this matter. And we discussed that with you. The direction of the board was that go ahead with it, and that at that point, it was under the sheriff's budget, and we weren't really sure at that point of the complexity or the nature, because it was early in the case. So the contract was let by the sheriff's office at $50,000, which is the procurement level that the office can sign. We realize now that we will be getting another invoice very shortly, which will put it over the $50,000 where we need Board of County Commissioners' approval. So we're asking for an amendment to increase the amount of that contract to a maximum of $65,000 with a allowance for, if necessary, which I'm doubting at this point, to put it where the undersheriff could execute an amendment that does not exceed an additional 10%. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. If you want more details about the case, we could do that in an executive session. I guess the other thing I just want to let you know is this case should be done fairly soon, but at this point, we've had another case being moved to arbitration where we may have an additional need for outside counsel. So this is looking like it's not just a one-time issue. And so just sort of a heads up on that one. But for today, what we're asking is for approval of the contract amendment at the level of $65,000.
Where's the revenue coming from for this outside attorney?
This would be paid out of general fund. The sheriff has agreed to absorb 50,000. We've not had the conversation about the additional 15 or future, but it will be paid out of general fund.
And I guess my question is, why are we not being represented by the prosecuting attorney instead of an outside counsel?
I think there may need to be a bigger discussion about that. In the civil division, we are seeing definitely an increase of workload. I think there are a number of reasons for that, including a lot of new county staff that, we've lost a lot of seasoned and experienced staff that, so we're getting a lot more questions asked. We also see that many offices have more staffing and we have not had more staffing, which means that, we're trying to answer more things with fewer people. And so there are a variety of workload issues, which is a bigger discussion with my office. In this case, we're seeing an uptick in the number of cases moved to arbitration. So,
If I could,
yeah.
Our human resource director, Maria, sorry to put you on the spot, but she gave me some information I think might be helpful for this conversation. Maria, do you mind coming to the table and just expressing the change in the number of things going to arbitration? You likened it to period of time we had like maybe one or none, and in this period of time there's been, I don't remember exactly, otherwise I would say it.
Good morning, Maria Ponte, HR Director. So one of the trends that we've been seeing over the last couple of years is an increase in cases going to arbitration. I would say really over the span of 15 years, we've maybe seen 3, and over the span of the last 1.5 to 2 years, I think we're at 4. So that uptick is unusual.
And that's not on our end, correct? We're not
Correct.
the ones pushing these to arbitration.
It's the unions. And I think part of what we're seeing goes back to the Janice case, where more employees were able to opt out of the union, and the unions have definitely taken a more aggressive stance in terms of elevating things much more frequently. And so then in terms of capacity, these cases do take a lot of time. They take a lot of extra time, many, many hours. I think Jane had mentioned that in the current case, it was maybe 150 hours worth of, 140 hours.
I think the outside counsel will exceed 150 hours on the case before it's done.
So it definitely taps out HR, and it sounds like the civil division's staffing abilities to cover these cases.
And I was gonna, a couple things. One is, yeah, since in the last couple of years, there've been 5 arbitrations. So this one is the first one that we didn't handle in-house. And some of them, let's see, this was the second one from the sheriff's office, one corrections, one in the Deputy Sheriff's Association, and then the others were in other AFSCME units in the county. The other issue with the civil division of the prosecutor's office is we had one retirement earlier in the year with a new attorney coming in. We have another attorney moving out of the civil division. Maybe a slower transition, but basically next week, which means we'll have a vacancy. And with only 6 of us to go around to cover the whole county, it has a big impact. So that's where we are right now.
I guess I'd ask, is there any chance that we could maybe take money out of vacancy savings rather than take it out of the general fund? I mean, that's my
Sure
thing.
that's exactly.
It's the same money.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at the point right now where we're asking kind of the same question, right? I mean, the prosecutor needs more civil attorneys. And it's unfortunate because in a perfect world, we already pay the prosecutor's office money to cover us. So we're paying the prosecutor's office the money to defend us in these arbitration cases, which the arbitration cases, with no uncertain terms, that's police accountability. So the alternative to this is that we don't discipline people, and we let deputies do whatever they want. So the fact that we're not doing that is what's taking us to these arbitration cases where we're saying, no, you are going to be disciplined, and here's the discipline kind of thing. So I think Jane is right. There needs to be a larger conversation because right now we're paying twice. We're paying the prosecutor's office through interfunds, and then we're also going out to Summit Law and paying an additional $50,000 because they don't have the staffing to cover.
So to clarify, you are paying the prosecutor through the interfunds, but that's for work that they did specifically for your department 2 years ago. That's on a 2-year lag.
Mm-hmm.
So the costs you're paying today are different than the services you were paying for 2 years ago that are on the lag through the interfund.
I agree, Sheriff, that it would be great for us to connect offline, and because there is a rise, which is not anything due to what your shop or what you're doing, but to what Maria said, maybe a different stance that the unions are taking. We can look at what we need to do to come back with a recommendation to commissioners about how we proceed, so it's not one-offs. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
Other questions? I guess, yeah, I think you covered it. There's another case, we're gonna also have to utilize outside counsel for the reasons you just described. This case,
But it's under that 50,000, so we might not
you might not see
have
it.
this issue.
I just, regarding the additional case that just came in, I just wanted to give you a heads up today.
Yeah.
Just so you know that this may likely not be the only contract we're
It's a
dealing
cost
with.
of
But for
doing
today, the only issue is the contract amendment
And the
for the
60
one case.
And the 65,000 is an estimate of where you think it's gonna, what's going to be
Right.
required?
Chair, can I ask one more
Yep.
question? By any chance, if we prevail, if there is such a thing, maybe it's gonna be a compromise, but if we prevail, do we ever go after legal costs?
No, you can't do that. Under the labor contracts,
Okay.
each party pays for their own representatives.
Thank you.
Okay,
If we lose, we could end up paying for theirs, though.
No,
No?
no, the attorney's fees, are not something that get paid for by, each party pays for their own, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
okay, thank you.
Maria.
Those are the 2 sheriff's items on the
Thank you.
consent. So I think you're here for other things on the department?
I think so, at some point. We have more on this. I think that's later, right?
Executive meeting.
10 a.m.
Is there any other sheriff items?
Thank you, Sheriff.
I don't see any department items for the sheriff.
Oh, the executive session.
Executive session, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's gonna have to wait.
Yes.
All right, then let's go to item C, Commissioner's item, contract award for official county newspaper.
I don't know if there's any questions based on the report we gave last time. We are working to secure a contract with Nisqually paper.
Any questions on the newspaper issue? Okay, let's go to item D, HR, resolution for a pilot recruitment incentive for Thurston County Sheriff's Office Corrections Bureau.
Switching chairs.
Musical chairs. Good morning, Maria Ponte, HR Director. So the next two items are related to the recruitment incentives program in the Sheriff's Office. And so in January, the board approved one for the road deputies, 25,000 bonus paid in installments and a leave bank. And the Sheriff's Office is seeking to do the same thing on the Corrections Bureau. So again, $25,000 paid in installments. And both policies would end at the end of this year unless extended by the Board of County Commissioners. Any questions?
Seeing none, nope, that covers D and E. Anything else to say about E, Maria?
No, but I think I have some more items coming. Is that the classification?
Well, you just said D and E were related, and I thought you just covered them.
No, so there's some items coming up on for reclassification.
Yeah, D and E was.
Okay, go to F. Resolution.
Okay, I think they just got so lot.
Resolution to reclassify position within auditor's office.
Okay, so this is a resolution to reclassify a position. It's currently an education and outreach specialist. The auditor's office made a request to reclassify it. Staff have done the review of the duties required and found there was justification for the reclassification. And this was also something that was part of the budget items that were pushed into 2024.
Question on 3F? Nope. Okay, let's go to 3. Oh, I guess you're good.
Okay.
Emergency services is next, 3G. Contract award for underwater remotely operated vehicle for Thurston County Dive Team. Kyle Bustad, welcome.
Thank you. Kyle Bustad, Emergency Management. This is request to initiate the contract. We went out for RFP, received 2 bids. Dive team and emergency management staff scored, and this vendor was selected, and so now we are requesting permission to enter contract. This is FY20 federal grant funds, and yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Kyle? Nope, good to go, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
3H, Public Works, setting a public hearing to consider contract with Shredding Systems, Inc. for removal of existing stationary compactor and purchase and installation of a new solid waste stationary compactor. Jeff Bickford, Solid Waste Manager, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Bickford, Solid Waste Manager of Public Works. As you mentioned, the Public Works is requesting that the board set a public hearing for Tuesday, July 30th to consider a contract with SSI, which is Shredding Systems, Inc., to remove our existing compactor at the Waste and Recovery Center and then provide and install a new one. As you know, we've had some issues over the past couple of years with it going down, having breakdowns. So we put out a request for proposals, which one was received. We're doing this through, based through RCW 36.58.090, which governs procurement for solid waste handling systems. And part of that procurement process requires that if you use an RFP process, that you hold a public hearing for the consideration in front of the board. So the estimated cost for removing the existing compactor and installation and provision of the new one, along with the sales tax, is approximately $2.9 million. Public Works is requesting again that you set the public hearing, and that I want to mention that all contract expenditures are funded through revenues from solid waste tipping fees. And I'd like to answer any other questions.
Can you restate, you said something about the process requires a public hearing, and that's, where is that coming from, and what's the scope of that requirement? Like how many?
It is required by RCW 36.58.090. It requires, if you use for procurement of solid waste handling systems, plants, sites, or facilities, that if you use the RFP process versus a straight up bid, then it requires a public hearing be held.
Okay, state law says we gotta do it. Interesting. Any other questions?
No, but I'm going back. Wayne brought up the fact, maybe we're gonna try and consolidate some of these at all.
We're still on the consent calendar, so.
This is all consent.
Oh, this is,
Before
okay,
we get
all
to
of
the
them.
next stuff.
Got
we
it,
should
got
be
it, got it,
Putting that
got
hat on.
it. Sorry about that.
Thank you,
I'm
Jeff.
gonna suggest it for everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right, then that brings us to 3I, which is an auditor voucher list for the week of June 3rd, and 3J, which is an auditor voucher list for the week of June 10th. Any questions from the board to staff? Nope, okay. So now we have department items. 4A, Central Services, resolution to call for sealed bids for Thurston County infrastructure upgrades.
Richard King, Capital Project Manager. This will be the call for sealed bids for the construction work at Family Juvenile Court and Thurston County Correctional Facility. It'll be for the replacement of the failed PLC system at FJC and for the camera system upgrade at the correctional facility. Here to answer any questions if you have any.
Anything for Richard? Nope.
Okay.
Consent calendar?
Yeah. Nothing controversial about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution and call for sealed bids for Building 3 roof replacement. Thomas Shrimpke. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thomas Tremke, Capital Projects Manager. This is a resolution to call for sealed bids for a roof replacement of Building 3. This is a roof replacement of a roof that was last replaced in 1992. We've had several leaks over the past few years. And we're trying to extend the life of this building by replacing the roof. I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Consent calendar?
I have questions though. So we've obviously had problems with that roof. And is there something new that's happened that's causing us to move forward now on the replacement?
It's just multiple leaks and we keep patching the patches and
So there continues to be
new leaks, yes.
Okay, well, I think that probably answers.
Are we good moving that consent calendar? I mean, we accepting the bid I would want on the agenda, but.
Resolution call for sealed bid. Any objection to moving it to consent from the board?
Sounds good to me.
So the last two.
Okay, so A and B, 4A and B will then be moved to consent items. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to 5A, budget amendment number 1. It should be a department item. And Nicole Martinez is going to give us an overview.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Board. Nicole Martinez, Budget and Fiscal Manager. Today, I'm asking for adoption of the 24-25 Budget Amendment 1. Amendment 1 encompasses adjustments such as technical corrections, rectifying errors and omissions, and incorporating unanticipated revenues. The 24-25 budget was officially adopted on December 15, 2023. Subsequently, on April 17th, I presented proposed amendments to the budget, and in the April 29th work session, received decisions on those changes to the 24-25 budget. Additionally, I came before you on June 3rd to present to you for review and approval of 3 adjustments to those decisions made on April 29th. The first adjustment presented was to remove the transfers from the general fund appropriations for the sheriff's law enforcement, public defense, and prosecuting attorney to the public safety sales tax funds. The second was to present to remove change requests from the offices and departments intended for the public safety sales tax fund. These requests were resubmitted to general fund authority. These 2 adjustments were presented to allow the budget office to examine the various aspects related to the structure of the public safety sales tax funds more closely, and to collaborate more closely with the auditor's office, the sheriff's office, prosecuting attorney's office, and public defense. The third adjustment presented was to implement the auditor's recommendation to repay REIT 1. All 3 adjustments were approved to be included in Amendment 1. To highlight the major inclusions in Amendment 1, a $2 million transfer from the general fund to the roads fund, $1.9 million transfer from the general fund to REIT 1 fund, and $1.6 million hold for FJC security improvements. The total is $5.5 million. These additions to the amendment were made in response to the increase in the 23 general fund ending fund balance beyond the projected amount during the 24-25 biennium budget development. During the biennium, it was projected the general fund ending fund balance would be $33.5 million. The actual ending fund balance is $38.8 million. This is an increase of $5.3 million beyond what was projected. The reasons for the increases are 1, increases in interest revenues beyond budgeted, ARPA loss revenue transfer, also the increase in ARPA public sector workforce revenues, and expenditures estimated coming in less than they were projected. So collectively, these reasons produced a $5.3 million ending fund balance above what was projected. Any questions?
Questions? Gone over this one many times, but this is the final step, right?
That is correct.
The final step in a long process of this amendment. Okay, no questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
You're still on top, though, looks like, for item B.
Tara, may I introduce Tara to come, please? Sorry, sir.
Item B is resolution for amendment 1 to the 2024 position control schedule.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tara Wickline, Compensation and Benefits Manager. This resolution before you is directly tied to Amendment 1 and just makes all of the position changes that were approved in Amendment 1 official. I believe the majority of the position changes are extending or removing end dates. And then there's a couple positions that are actually being removed from position control.
Are you going to be at the board meeting to present the item?
I can.
Yes.
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 Questions on item 5B? No? Okay. Then we'll make that change to the agenda, Madam Clerk. As to the presenter. Community Planning Economic Development 6A, resolution for the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board transition to Water Resources Advisory Board. Jeremy Davis.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Again, Jeremy Davis. I'm the Operations Manager for the Community Planning and Economic Development Department. And today I'm asking the board to do final consideration for a resolution that would transition the current Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board to a new Water Resources Advisory Board. This action is being taken in consideration of the board expanding to 5 members in November of last year. The county has been systematically going through, again, all of its boards and commissions, and so this is the next step for the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board. During the consideration for the Shoreline Management Plan update, the board decided as part of that update to allow for an advisory board on water resources issues, in particular the implementation of the S&P, aquaculture, monitoring, and sea level rise were the 3 primary areas out of that. This new RAB would take into consideration all of those in addition to some of the current stormwater and surface advisory board duties with that. With this transition, the current SWAB would sunset as it's currently constituted as of June 30th of this year, starting in July 1st with the new RAB. The old Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board terms would also expire at that time and allow the board to then reappoint those members to the new Water Resources Advisory Board with appropriately staggered terms for that. The SWAB, or they should say the new RAB membership would include a total of 12 sitting members, with 10 of those members appointed directly, nominated by Board of County Commissioner members with the apportionment to go as 2 per district. Those members can live anywhere in Thurston County. They just have to be nominated by individual county commissioners. And then we'd have 2 positions on the new RAB that would be fully at-large positions. That could be someone who's either a resident, they own real property, or they're a specialist that the board deems to be important for the RAB to function and to provide the appropriate advice to the Board of County Commissioners. The work program of the new RAB would be determined by the Community Planning and Economic Development Director and budget as guided by the Board of County Commissioners, of course. And I'd be happy to answer any questions to the board. And I understand that we did send out the current membership to you so you can take a look at who's on the old SWAB and consider them for the new RAB. And I think Amy Davis sent that out last week.
Commissioner Mejia?
We also got a letter from SWAB board members if the board had a chance to look at it. No, I was just going to nominate this for consent.
Second.
So that email from board members is printed and sitting on my desk, and I haven't had a chance to go through it. Is there anything in there that's a concern, like, is there any objection or concerns about the resolution that have been expressed by those 2 members?
I don't recall seeing that in a specific comment that was sent. It was a final report of SWAB wrapping up all of their work in their business and making sure that the board was aware of what their recommendations were going forward. And we're going to be happy to work with those members to continue on the new RAB based on those recommendations. And we'll work with Andy DeFobis, who will be the staff for the new RAB, on working any of those considerations moving forward.
Jeremy, but there were no expressed concerns?
Nope. No expressed concerns that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
So.
In the letter specifically?
In the letter specifically, yeah, and I haven't heard any otherwise, and I'm not aware of any other emails received from current sitting SWAB members otherwise.
I think it was crafted really because traditionally they've done an annual update to the board, and so that wouldn't be happening, so it was kind of a preview.
Final.
Thanks for the context.
Okay, and I'll take a look at that at lunch. Okay, so then the proposal is to put that on consent, if that's okay with everyone? Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
You won't have to present this afternoon. Thanks, Jeremy. 7A, HR, we have 1, 2, 3 items to reclassify positions. First one is Legal Assistant 1 to Legal Assistant 2 within the Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Second one is Legal Assistant 2 to Paralegal 1 within the Prosecuting Attorney's Office. And the third one is a Social Service Program Specialist 1 to Victim Advocate within Public Defense. However you want to tackle those, it's fine with me.
I'll tackle them in that order. Good morning again, Commissioners. Maria Ponte, HR Director. With me is Tara, Compensation and Benefits Manager. Last week we presented these 3 items and the Commissioners had additional questions, which I have since been able to do the research. So with respect to the request in the Prosecuting Attorney's Office to reclassify a half-time position from a Legal Assistant 1 to a Legal Assistant 2, I did confirm that this was a part of the budget package where the Commissioner set aside some reclass requests to be reviewed in 2024. Same thing for the Legal Assistant 2 to the Paralegal 1. And just to clarify that the legal assistant reclassification involves involuntary treatment court. I know there was a statement last week that it was in public records, but that was stated in error. Do you have any questions about those 2 requests from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office?
Would the board be okay moving those to consent?
Okay, so
Hold on, Commissioner Mejia.
Oh.
Thank you. It was my request to remove them to department items, and with the information that Maria has provided, I'm okay with moving it back to consent.
Right, thank you. I meant to note that 7A, B, and C had been moved off consent. So let us know, Commissioner Mejia, if you're okay with C as well, but go ahead with C.
Okay, so this request is from Public Defense. Also, it was the result of a request during the budget process. They requested a social services program specialist one. They have since reevaluated the duties of the position. They're requesting to reclassify it to a victim advocate position. It's 100% funded by TST, and it actually results in a reduction since the victim advocate is in a lower pay range. And Director Patrick O'Connor is here. If you have any additional questions, he'd be happy to answer those, as would I.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, just the bluff is, this was a position that was approved in the biennium presented by the Treatment Sales Tax Advisory Board, approved by their board to recommend, and was approved by this board. Essentially, that we have a mirrored position. This is just a matter of classifications and some challenges there. Our social service specialist is what we define that position in our office, but the classification on the county books is a victim advocate. I'm saying we're working on, I think, some of those classifications that don't really match the positions, but in the interim, moving this forward, the funding is available to our department on TST July 1st. So it's really rectifying the classification that was previously approved, and as Maria indicated, it's actually at a lower range in terms of salary and impact. So happy to answer any of the questions. This is really more an administrative fix that we discovered a little bit late in the process, because when you look at social service specialist classifications in the county, there's a handful of them, most with public health. And so even though that's what we call our position in our office, it's not the classification for the county. We're still under a victim advocate, which is a prosecutor FTE classification, but that's what we're using. But we post and recruit and describe the work as a social service specialist specifically for public defense.
Commissioner Mejia?
Same thing. I'm okay with this moving to consent with the new information that's been provided.
Yeah, I mean, I was confused because it's just, you know, victim advocate is usually a prosecutorial function. So it sounds like we're still funding the same work, where it's just really a matter of the title on the right classification within the HR system.
It was a catch between our shops and, you know, having to rectify that with board approval. But I think it's, you know, part of the larger sort of ongoing big effort, I know, to look at county classifications, which I'm sure you don't want to get into this morning. So thank you.
Yeah. We should probably just amend the name of that, you know, victim advocate / something that's more appropriate to what your office equivalent does.
I think it would be one of several, to be candid, classifications that would be specific for our department, like our legal assistant positions are written for prosecutor legal positions, legal assistant positions, paralegals are written for prosecutor. So we have a handful of positions to really reclassify or look at reclassification. But again, I think that's part of a larger effort by Maria's department to address overtime. So we're going to make it work for now, and
so when you recruit, can you not be bound by that label, and
no,
that
so
way you wouldn't get the right people?
Yeah, so when we post, we can post the classification as a social service specialist within public defense and describe the duties, et cetera. But on the books,
okay.
Maria could correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how we post and recruit.
Well, we often have a classification title, but you can have a working title. I think that's how what he's describing is the working title.
That satisfies my, okay, so it looks like we're good for consent item in this one,
you.
so you won't need to be here HR on those three.
Oh, you can stay.
So let's go to IT.
Thanks for coming.
Contract with Axon Justice Premier Evidence.com for electronic evidence services for the prosecuting attorney and public defense. Sure.
Morning, Sherry Ilg, IT Director. We are here to request approval to sign the contract for Axon Justice Premier Evidence.com. Since the Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement organizations began using body cameras, the amount of digital evidence created has been impossible to manage. This has put an incredible workload demand on the prosecuting attorney's office and public defense. They have not been able to keep up with the demands for providing video evidence as needed for trial. We have reviewed the Axon solution and have identified it as the best solution for managing the data. So IT is seeking board approval to enter into a 10-year contract with Axon for implementation of the Justice Premier Evidence.com software and ongoing hosting, licensing, and maintenance. It has a total 10-year cost of $1,680,833.
Which is projected to come from public safety tax?
I believe so. Is that accurate?
Yes. That was what
Yeah, correct.
they got the last year's budget.
So, can I ask Pat, if you, like, I'm sure you haven't crunched this to any detail, but so this is just your impression. What is the, like, with the body cam evidence coming to your office, like, what would you say, like, the average amount of, like, additional evidence, video, you know, like, from pre-body cam to post-body cam? Is it like an average of an extra hour of stuff, you know, to watch, or are you getting, what do you get in a typical felony case that you weren't getting before?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Patrick O'Connor, Director of Public Defense, here to support my colleague in this department item. The board's familiar with the issue, and my colleague, John Thunheim, and I have briefed the board on this issue and this is a solution, and we've been working on this to get to this point with Cherie's team, who's done a lot of work to get to this point. So I think the best way for me to respond is to frame it in sort of two ways, two impacts. One is an administrative impact. So what we've been living in and dealing with is a work environment of voluminous amounts of daily massive data. Again, to frame the issue, every local law enforcement agency here in the county has adopted body cam usage. It's been implemented. City of Olympia, Lacey, I think Tumwar is about to come on live. State Patrol is about to come on live this summer. And those are Axon clients. And the Sheriff's Office has been, as you know, online with their body cam footage in a different environment with the GTAC system that I think you're getting briefings on, which way the Sheriff's Department is looking to go in the future regarding that. So administratively, you know, our office and John's office as well has been really inundated and overwhelmed with just daily footage. We really didn't have a good system in place to be able to deal with every agency, every arrest, every encounter, having some degree of body cams. And then you have multi-jurisdictional cases, right? So if you take a bigger case, let's say, for example, that has all these jurisdictions responding, then you have multiple jurisdictions and multiple officers there. And so in a heavier case, you can be looking at, I have a case right now, it's a homicide case. I have over 120 hours worth of body cam video, and I don't have it all. That's a little bit extreme on one end. But administratively for our staff, our legal assistants and paralegals have been underwater and trying to manage each data file that comes in, downloading these videos, having them crash and having to reboot. It's really affected morale, I think, in the shops because, you know, their professional satisfaction is doing legal work and not, you know, working and downloading videos every day, but that's the need. You know, so this is the solution to that. And then on the sort of the practice side with the attorneys, I think on both sides, we've seen a significant impact. I'd say an average case is going to have anywhere from 20 to 40 hours worth of body cam footage. And then there's an ethical responsibility for the attorneys to review the discovery. That's discovery. They have an ethical responsibility to review that, right? So it's really impacted their workload. But what this solution provides within this suite is ways for the attorneys to be much more efficient in viewing the evidence that they have to review. There's a transcription service that comes with this package, which really streamlines the work, right? Sometimes we don't know what's on a video, so I may watch a video and it's 45 minutes of an officer that's later involved in the investigation, you know, just on their shift driving around. And it's not like an investigation in the case, they're just out patrolling, or they're, I watched one the other night of an officer getting gas for a while. You know, I mean, you know, you just don't know what's in there until you get in there. So like a transcription service, the attorneys can go off the transcription so they can start to see and identify where in the videos, just as an example of relevant discovery is in those 4 hours worth of this officer's videos. Hey, let's cut to the most important things. A little long-winded answer, but this is a solution both administratively for professional staff, legal assistants, and paralegals, and just managing this. This is only gonna grow, right? This is just where we're at this point in time. It's just gonna get more complex, and this is a fantastic solution for our justice system, not just for my shop or John's shop, but for the entire justice system.
Yeah, I mean,
Answer your question.
no, you did. We've heard a lot about the administrative piece, so I was more asking about the practice side, because
practice side
we
is-
haven't heard much about that, and
Yeah.
if somebody's got 20 hours, that's half a week of work just to go through what could be irrelevant, you know, body cam in for one case. I mean, that's gotta massively impact.
And not to smirch our profession, but lawyers are not good with, most lawyers are not really great with handling tech. And I'm speaking for myself. So the catalog of, and the ability Axon provides for lawyers to navigate nimbly throughout their work schedules to review the evidence is really
sophisticated.
Important, so.
The other thing it's gonna do for IT is that they're downloading videos and storing them on our network right now. So they will no longer have to do that, which will free up quite a bit of space that we're burning up.
At cost.
Yeah.
Other questions? Sure. Commissioner Mejia, and then I'll get Commissioner Edwards.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if we can move this item to consent, this was already approved during the budget session, and this is just kind of like an affirmation of the contract.
I'm good with that.
It's a big contract. Is that gonna be?
Cost of doing business, I guess.
Commissioner Edwards?
I just, for the viewing public, I guess, when you're talking about reviewing the amount of time there is, I mean, you could have 3 or 4 officers wearing body cams that are involved in a incident that's tied in. I mean, so the public should know how real complicated this can be as it goes on.
Yeah, and just one more, piece for the public too, Commissioner, to your point is, digital evidence is evidence in modern criminal justice, and it's not just body cam, right? So it's cell phone cam, it's cameras on homes, shell stations, you name it, right? Bowling alleys. But all the digital evidence will be in this environment, so it's not piecemeal into other areas on, removable drives, and we see a lot of that, right? Ring cameras, I mean,
Locks.
lots of ring cameras, lots of cell phone videos of people, so it's all getting into this environment, it just makes it much more manageable.
Question, does the contract include any sort of cap on how much data can be stored? Like, will we at any point have to be paying more if we exceed, okay, cool.
Unlimited.
It's unlimited.
Awesome.
And we retain, we retain county rights to the data, right, so a big piece of it.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any concern about consent on this item? Okay, well then we can move it over.
Yeah, just a public thank you to the commissioners for supporting this, and to Shree and her team. It's a big effort, so we appreciate it.
We appreciate the voters supporting the public safety tax, because without their support, we couldn't have done it, frankly, so. Okay, 8B, renewal amendments for WashDOT Interagency Agreement K688.
Hi, Sherry Ilg, IT Director, and this is Chris Keller, our Technical Manager, and he did the majority of the work on this negotiation, so I brought him to answer any questions you might have. So, back in March of 2013, Thurston County entered into an interagency agreement with Washington Department of Transportation. We use their fiber to connect the majority of our buildings. And this agreement was to extend the fiber to the southwest corner of Lily Road and allow public health and social services to connect to the county network. It had a 20-year period of performance with an option to extend. Since then, we have had 4 amendments to that contract. Amendment number 1 was signed, which provided Thurston County's connection to the state intergovernmental network. It's called the IGN. And that amendment has an end date of 6/30/24. Amendment number 2 was signed in May of 2017, which provided connectivity for the temporary home essential services staff at 2500 Mottman and connected the Mottman complex to Thurston County's network. That one also has an end date of 6/30/24. Amendment number 4 was signed in December of 22 with an end date of 6/30/24. And this agreement was to provide connectivity to the atrium and to Capcom. TCOM, it's called. Because amendments number 1, 2, and 4 are expiring, we have asked DOT to create a new amendment that will cover all the strands of fiber that will connect the atrium, TCOM, Lily Road, and the courthouse to WATEC, and this is amendment number 5. So my request is that we are asking for approval to sign amendment number 5, which will roll up amendments 1, 2, and 4 and extend the end date to match the end date of the original agreement, which is March of 2033. The agreement includes the option to discontinue use of and payment for any fiber at any time. Therefore, if the strand is no longer needed, Thurston County can discontinue use and payment for the strand. DOT will charge a monthly amount of $400 per strand, up to $48,000 plus tax per year for the next 9 years. The total cost of this 9-year extension with tax and 10% contingency will not exceed $521,769. And we collect for these payments in our internal service rates.
This is a new item, so are there questions from the board? Chris, Godfrey?
Can I ask about the timing of this? Like, why is it coming in front of the board now? And why is it a priority?
The amendments 1, 2, and 4 expire at the end of this month. So it's important to get that renewed before it expires, although DOT was late in getting us the amendment number 5. So they said they wouldn't turn it off if we didn't get it approved by 6/30, but we were hoping to get it approved before the contract expired, or the amendments expired.
Thank you for clarifying that. I was trying to get on that piece.
Okay, thank you. This is a good consent item.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Consent?
Yep. Public Health and Social Services is next. 9A, professional services contract with Monarch Children's Justice and Advocacy Center for treatment sales tax funds.
Actually, Gretchen
Taller.
Good morning, Gretchen Taller, Division Director with Public Health and Social Services, and I'm filling in for Shaylin this morning. We are both working together on this agreement with Monarch Children's Justice and Advocacy Center for treatment sales tax funding. As you know, Monarch has a mental health therapy program that provides mental health treatment to victims of child abuse and neglect at no cost to victims. During the Amendment 1 process, $153,180 in one-time TST funds were approved by the board to support a clinical supervisor position for Monarch to help address their client wait list, which is currently around 72. At last week's agenda setting, the board requested that the contract period be extended from 6 months to 12 months, and the contract timeline has been updated to terminate on June 1st of 2025 instead of December 31st of 2024. And this has been approved by legal as well. So let's see, I think with the 12-month contract period, I want to just draw attention to the fact that Monarch anticipates being able to serve at least 70 clients in the additional 6 months. So that's exciting. Open to any questions?
Hearing none. Thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you.
Affordable Housing Funding Awards is next, 9B. Alex Purse from Public Health and
Good
Social
morning,
Services.
Commissioners. Alex Purse, Affordable Housing Program Manager. I am here today to ask you to approve the Affordable Housing Capital Funding Awards to fund 8 projects for a combined total amount of $5,985,969 and authorize our office to issue the funding award letters. The background on this item, in January, the Regional Housing Council approved issuing a request for proposals to solicit applications for capital affordable housing projects. We issued this RFP on February 23rd and it closed on April 5th. Funding under this RFP came from the Local Home Fund, both County and City of Olympia, House Bill 1406, Substitute Bill 5386, and the Home American Rescue Plan Act and the Home Investment Partnership Act. We received 10 applications requesting approximately $8.9 million. The Thurston Affordable Housing Advisory Board members reviewed and scored these applications and then met on April 25th to make recommendations. On May 8th, the Advisory Board took these recommendations to the Regional Housing Council and they unanimously approved. And now we are bringing it to you all to make final approval on the following funding awards, which are listed in the AIS. I will say that it was requested that I add the number of units that are being either added or converted in each of these projects to this table. So that's an addition of what you saw last week. It's expected to create 118 new units and then convert 124 units of enhanced shelter to permanent supportive housing. Once each of these projects meet all of the pre-contract requirements, our office will come back to you all to request authorization to sign a contract for each award.
Okay, questions? Commissioner Edwards?
I just bring this up because we're kind of pushing a lot of things over to consent, but maybe this one is such a big item and of such community importance because it's a hot topic, housing, homelessness, the whole thing. I think the community should know. I think it builds trust with the community. Let them know that we're working with other entities trying to solve problems.
I wasn't gonna say, that's too big of a dollar item for me to suggest that one, but I would like to suggest 9A. We've kind of talked about that I would say ad nauseum, but.
Yeah, I'm good with 9A on consent.
Okay, proposals to move 9A to consent, keep 9B on, move it to 9 or whatever the number will be, and move it to, or keep it on the main agenda.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go then to 9C on the draft agenda, which is cold and hazardous weather contracts. Keely, no? Yes, Keely Marino.
Good morning, Commissioners. Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services. Today, this item is to award 3 contracts for hazardous and cold weather sheltering and emergency response. The total amount that we are awarding is $337,766, or at least seeking approval for these awards. The same RFP that Alex mentioned right before me is where these applicants provided their proposals. 3 of the agencies that we are recommending for awards are Olympia Mutual Aid Partners for hazardous weather shelter in place activities, Interfaith Works for those pop-up shelters during cold and or hot weather, and then Family Support Center for cold weather sheltering for families. These are a 1-year contract. They did receive a surprise 23% increase with some extra funding that came through Washington State Department of Commerce, which we added to the original recommendations. These contracts did go before the Regional Housing Council, and they did approve these contracts for
for the recommendations for funding these three agencies. And I'm glad to take any questions. I do want to point out that the funding source may seem different than what has been called out in the past. In the past, we would have called these 2163, our House Bill 2163 funds. In the legislative session in 2022 or 2023, the funding sources that are document recording fees, 2060, 1277, and 2163 were all combined into one funding source, which is substitute Senate Bill 5386. So that's what those funds are. They're the document recording fees. And I'm happy to take any questions.
All right. Well, hopefully over time that's simpler for us to think about, but at this juncture it's more complicated. Any questions for Keely on this item? Nope. Okay. Then let's keep you, Keely, for 9D, which is homeless services contract amendments.
Yes, so this item is, we're hoping to have approval for 55 contract amendments for homeless services activities with 16 of our nonprofits here in Thurston County. The combined total amount to be awarded is $15,330,146.84 for this upcoming program year. These contracts were awarded for the biennium, so they were 2-year contracts that were up for renewal based on performance and spend down of their awards. All of these that are listed below were approved for amendments this year. This the types of programming that these 55 contracts cover are for all homeless services. So they serve youth and young adults, single adults, families with children, veterans, and households fleeing domestic violence. They will fund transitional housing, permanent supportive housing operations, rapid rehousing programs for people experiencing homelessness for various subpopulations, homeless services programming, including but not limited to outreach activities, providing meals, hygiene services, distributing survival supplies out into encampments and on the street, providing referrals. The Housing and Essential Needs Program, which is a specific program through the Department of Commerce, rent assistance and other prevention activities, coordinated entry activities. Cold and hazardous weather is included in this, even though that's an item that came before this, and other outreach activities. All of these come from the Department of Commerce, and all of them, or most of them, well, let me take that back. Most of these come through the Department of Commerce through the Consolidated Homeless Grant. Some of the increase that we see is for the Consolidated Homeless Grant inflationary funds. Those funds were specifically set aside to stabilize the workforce and homeless services. So that's why you see separate line items there for inflationary funds. And then our Human Services Fund, which is a local tax that we use to provide those basic needs. So that's for the community kitchen, the food, the hygiene, other of those kind of those services going directly to people experiencing homelessness. So these also came before the Regional Housing Council and were approved. The recommendations were approved, and we're hoping to have approval today. And I'm happy to take questions.
Questions for Keely? Keely, I have a question. So I know that some of these, and I was joking earlier about the different funding sources and how, kind of complicated it is. And I know that some of them get kind of put together and streamlined through a process for projects. I've never sat on the Regional Housing Council. I did substitute one time for Commissioner Hutchings for this process when it was done through the CIP. So I have a sense of it, but our home fund dollars and the dollars that come from Olympia's home fund, would we get a different set of reports about those projects, or are they somehow folded in here somewhere?
They are folded. Some of the projects are funded through our local home fund here for operations of these programs.
Okay. Okay. Other questions? All right, then. Yeah, Commissioner Meehan.
Sorry, it's not a question, but more of a comment that maybe it's time for a board update on the home fund. Kind of seeing like where those dollars are going to, just that way all commissioners know and can talk about some of the exciting projects that are coming right down the pipeline, and how these dollars are being used. So maybe a future work session, kind of just to update the board, I guess, is what I'm requesting.
Commissioners, we'd be happy to put that together and work with Cal.
I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, we can bring that forward.
Because there was comments about that yesterday. I'd like to sort of clarify where we're at with all that. Okay.
Be happy to do that. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Keely. 9E is a grant agreement for the Lost Lake Community On-Site Sewage System Improvement Project. Susan Long, Environmental Health Division Director, to brief the board. Good morning. Stuart Whitford.
So today I'm requesting the board execute this grant from the Washington State Department of Ecology in the amount of $485,516. There are no local matching funds required with this grant. This fund would go to replacing a septic system that serves 17 units in the Lost Lake community, which is located in the McAllister Creek watershed. The health department will provide some administrative oversight of the grant, as well as regulatory oversight. We'll give final approval on the septic system when it's installed. We plan on using this grant contract model, which is the Public Works grant contract model, to really partner with the HOA and ecology for future projects within this community and hopefully other sites as well. County, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for?
We forgot to mention before that they have been pumping out septic tank or tanks for some time, spending thousands of dollars to keep the sewage under control. So this is gonna move fast as soon as this is executed to get the system installed. So.
Questions for the environmental health team?
I guess I have one thing. We've got other community areas of similar disrepair, I guess. Does ecology tend to give us or be more receptive to grant requests that are in some of our watershed protection areas?
Yes. And for prioritization. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just be moved to consent.
It's okay with me. Water quality is a big issue, though.
Yeah, I kind of like the community to know what we're doing on something like this, because it's an issue of pretty high public concern. Let's keep this on.
It's a public-private partnership, and
yeah.
So yeah, great move.
Okay, thank you. So this will stay on. Let's go to next item. Contract award for development of integrated aquatic vegetation management plans for Offutt and Pattison Lakes, and cyanobacteria management plan for Lawrence Lake.
Thank you, Commissioner. Stuart Woodford, Environmental Health Program Manager. So as mentioned, we're asking the board to execute the contract with Herrera Environmental Consultants for the development of integrated aquatic vegetation management plans for Offutt and Pattison Lakes and the cyanobacteria management plan for Lawrence Lake, and authorize the interim director of Public Health and Social Services to execute the contract. Any amendments that do not exceed 10%. As mentioned earlier, this project is funded by grants and also Lake Management District funds. So we have three separate ecology grants totaling $110,000, and the balance of the project would go to the Lake Management District funds for a total of $236,000 and change. It's important to mention these are planning grants. They're not implementation grants. And so implementation will take place after the plans are developed and the public process that we're going to go through with the steering committees of the lake management districts. And Herrera has a lot of experience with public outreach, education, and inclusion. And so we look forward to, good exchange and debate on these plans so we can have the best product going forward. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
regular agenda or?
I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Mejia.
We did receive an email today from one of the people who's like trying to do the dissolution petition, and I'm wondering. I guess this question is more for Rob. Is there anything there that we should be aware of? I haven't had a chance to review it, but is there anything there that we should be aware of that would impede maybe this moving forward or?
Thank you, Commissioner. The email was in response to the correspondence that I had sent to the constituent, specifically outlining the various steps to date that we've taken and encouraging he and others to proactively collaborate and communicate with the steering committees for that LMD. So it was an appreciation. I think there's still an outstanding question as to whether or not there is a need, but this work is fundamental per county policy to move forward with the creation of the integrated aquatic vegetation management plan for each one of those. So while it does commit a certain number of resources to it, it is a really good foundational plan to understand sort of where the lake is at that really will help to inform future conversations about what should or shouldn't be done and how to best move forward for the health of the lake and the community surrounding it.
Thank you for it. I hadn't had a chance to review it, so I was wondering. I was like, was it an amendment to the petition? What?
No,
what
no.
exactly was that? So I'm okay with this moving to consent. I just had a question about that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fournier suggests this stays on, so we're going to keep this on the agenda, the regular item. And then we'll go to item G, Amendment 1 to ESD Youth Cannabis and Commercial Tobacco Prevention Program contract.
Good morning, Commissioners. Gretchen Teller, Division Director with Public Health and Social Services. And this is for Amendment 1 to our contract with the Capital Region ESD 113 for an increase of $9,000 for a total amount for the contract year of $72,750. And that was for October 1st, 2023 through June 30th of 2024. This increase will allow us to enhance media advertising of youth tobacco cannabis prevention campaigns through the end of the month.
Questions? Nope. Consent?
Second.
Okay, it's a small amount, so we'll move item G to consent, with everybody's agreement, and good to go, Gretchen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Go to Public Works now. 10A is contract award for Marvin Road Upgrade Phase 1.
Morning, Commissioners. Matt Unsman, Thurston County Engineer. Ben Enfield, a Senior Civil Engineer in our design group, will be presenting this item for your consideration this afternoon. Public Works is recommending the Board of County Commissioners award the Marvin Road construction contract to Active Construction. 8 bids were received, and they were the lowest responsive bidder at $5,860,860. Funding will come from $3.75 million will come from the state TIB program. $1 million will be coming from developer mitigation that we've collected, and the remaining will come from our transportation impact fee program. The project was prioritized from our transportation capacity program. The project limits extend from 22nd Avenue at the south end to Union Mills at the north end. Project improvements include a roundabout at the intersection of 19th Avenue, which goes into McAllister Park. We'll also be providing access control at Union Mills. We're going to be putting
shared use pathways on both sides of the road, all the way through to project limits. So with that, I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions for Matt? Nope. You up on the next one?
Don's got it.
Ashton has our next item, on-call engineering and professional consulting services.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dawn Ashton, Public Works Procurement Specialist. The agenda item before you today is one that I'll be presenting for your consideration at the board meeting this afternoon, which is to approve the award of on-call engineering and consulting services contracts to the 11 top-ranked consulting firms that were selected following a competitive RFP process, and to authorize the Director of Public Works to execute each contract and any amendments up to a 10% contingency, approve option renewals, and execute individual task orders. As I mentioned, these went through a competitive request for proposal process where we received 19 responses, and we had a team that evaluated all of them, scored them, and the top-ranked 11 firms were selected. The contracts will be for a maximum of 5 years with a 2-year base and 3 one-year renewal options. They will support our staff by augmenting and providing supplemental staff technical capabilities for design and engineering services in 8 different service categories, which will allow quick response to emerging needs and emergencies. So also awarding this group of contracts is going to streamline our process for individual projects because it creates a roster of consultants, and we will do a second tier selection to ensure that we are selecting the best consultant to perform the work and negotiate a reasonable price. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
For an example, if, say, KPFF, I just picked that out, 250,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's for the 5-year period, plus the extension time possibly? So it's really, it's not so much annually is what I'm
correct
about.
Yes, well, we did our best to project what we thought our 5-year program looked like, given the information we have now. And we identified the ceiling amounts based on the type of work that they would perform for us and the type of projects that we have coming up. So it's intended to cover the duration of the contract.
Thank you.
Don, could I piggyback on that? I think I recall from when the board reviewed this item last week that if that ceiling amount needed to change, that you would be coming back to the board.
Correct. Right. If we found out that we had some projects come up that we hadn't planned, and we didn't have enough money or ceiling amount for the contractors that we needed, then we would go back to the board and request increases.
Okay, any other questions? Madam Clerk, can you update that contact? I think we're good. Thank you, Norm. Item C is resolution for temporary closure of Wattle Creek Road Southwest from 90th Lane Southwest to 86th Lane Southwest.
Once again, Matt Huntsman, County Engineer. Marcus Storvik, who is a senior civil engineer in our design group, will be presenting this for your consideration this afternoon. The Board of County Commissioners previously approved a resolution in early April to close Wattle Creek for 4 roads during a period extending from May 6th to June 30th. However, we experienced some delays in getting utilities relocated prior to our contractor coming on site, so we're asking to move that range back. And we're also asking for an additional 2 weeks if something unforeseen comes up, then we're not having to come back to the Board of County Commissioners and request permission. I did check in with the field crew this morning. There's 3 culverts that are getting replaced as part of this project. as part of this project. One of them is nearly completed, so chances are we're not gonna have to use that 2 weeks. Better safe than sorry. We'll be communicating this closure to the revised closure to all of the stakeholders, including emergency services, local homeowners, schools, although I think most schools are out, but we'll confirm that and we'll make sure we get the message out to all the schools as well. This section of road experiences or has an average daily traffic of about 716 vehicles per day. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Consent calendar? I just want to say that I appreciate all the signage that you put in regarding the street improvement or the resurfacing down in the Rochester area. Like you guys have done a great job. They're everywhere, up and down 183rd, and in time for Swede Day, so well timed, well placed. Thank you.
Yeah, that's part of our chip seal project, and they're moving over to the other side of I-5. We've been hanging out around the Tilley Road and Loganberry, that area, but starting this week, we're going over to the other side of I-5 and start getting the 183rd and more towards the Rochester area this week.
Despite what some people say, 66 miles of resurfacing is a significant project.
It is.
Okay, consent agenda for item 9C. Let's go to 9D. Reject all bids and resolution calling for sealed bids for Thompson Creek Fish Patch Project.
All right, this item will be presented by Marcus Storvik as well. Public Works is requesting the Board of County Commissioners reject all bids received for the Thompson Creek Fish Passage Project and re-advertise the project. We only received one bid in response to a call for sealed bids, and it was $1.315 million, which was $200,000 higher than our engineer's estimate. We've since spoken to several contractors who did not bid the job, and that's because they did not feel like all of the project work could be completed within a single fish window, which was included in project specifications. So after review, staff recommends modifying the project specifications to allow the work to be performed over 2 fish windows with a winter suspension in between. As a refresher, this project includes replacing a 10-foot culvert with a 70-foot prefabricated bridge. This bridge is actually being delivered to our Tilley Road facility this week and will be offloaded and will be available when we have a contractor on board. So there will be no, get the contractor on board and let's hurry up and wait for 8 months to get the bridge on
Is it in a
site.
giant, like Amazon box or?
No, it comes in on a semi. It's kind of neat the way it comes in. The bridge is literally different sections are stacked on top of one another, and then a crane comes in and offloads it. It's just like the director said.
Stop by and take a look if that's.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know. So the removal of this barrier will open up 10 miles upstream habitat, benefiting adult and juvenile coho salmon, cutthroat trout, and steelhead. And again, I can answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, no questions.
Okay.
This is a little bit unusual item, so we'll keep this on Marcus to present it.
Sure.
Let's go on then to E. The last public works item is reject all bids and resolution calling for sealed bids for Johnson Point and Hawks Prairie intersection improvements.
So Brian Meyer, our design manager, will be presenting this item this afternoon. Public Works is requesting that the Board of County Commissioners reject all bids received for the Johnson Point and Hawks Prairie roundabout project and authorize Public Works to re-advertise the project. A total of 5 bids were received in response to a call for sealed bids. 2.7 million of the estimated 3 million of the estimated construction cost is federally funded. So the project is administered by the Washington State Department of Transportation, or WashDOT. WashDOT established that the contract provisions include 16% of the work to be performed by DBE contractors and 400 hours of training be included in the work as well. The second low bidder protested the bid because the low bidder incorrectly filled out the required bid submittals for training and DBE goals. The WashDOT Office of Equity and Civil Rights held a protest hearing and determined that the submittal error was minor in nature and should not discredit the low bidder's bid. The second low bidder has filed an injunction against the county because they have made similar mistakes in the past, and WashDOT prevented them from being awarded the contract. So Public Works has determined in consultation with legal counsel that rejecting all bids and re-advertising the project is in the best interest of the county. It's anticipated that the work to construct the roundabout could still begin this fall if the Board of County Commissioners authorizes Public Works to re-advertise this project later this month. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does this action sort of moot the litigation, or?
Yes.
Okay, so it kind of takes care of that issue in a sense. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Final business item, Superior Court. See Sabrina Craig is here. Treatment Services Contract Amendment, and why don't you brief us, Sabrina, and then I will recommend this one to go to consent, because this is just an annual read. Go ahead.
Good morning. So actually, this is a contract amendment to our current treatment services contract that we are in the third renewal of. We went out for procurement earlier this year and are in the process of negotiating a new treatment services contract that would begin July 1. This contract amendment and this request for additional funds is so that we can make it on this current contract through the end of June. At the end of April invoicing, we were at about 56,000 and some change, and so we need these additional funds to get us through the end of this contract period.
Any questions? Any objection to placement on consent? Nope. Okay, thank you, Sabrina. I guess you're off the hook this afternoon.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, we'll have our commissioners' reports. We do have 2 public hearings. A lot of times we break at 3:30 to do the public hearings. I may, depending on how long public comment is and we're still going, I may ask if anyone's actually here to give public comment. If nobody is, I may not break and we'll finish the board meeting. Because mainly we want to respect people that were here at 3:30 to testify, but I'm not sure that these 2 will generate any public comment. Maybe they will. But anyway, we'll play that by ear. And any questions on those 2 public hearings? Okay, so it's 10:34. Let's take a break till 10:45, and then we'll pick up with item 2 on the agenda. Okay, we are back. It's 10:46 a.m. We're picking up the agenda with item 2, proclamations and awards. The clerk of the board, our next proclamation looks like is the fair at the end of July, but come on up. For the next 2 items.
Morning, Commissioners. Amy Davis, Clerk of the Board. Yes, I have no proclamation items today.
Fair art, or I'm sorry, art contest awards.
Yes, those will be on the agenda today. The next proclamation is the fair, and I'm working with Thomasina. We expect some fair board members to come from that.
Okay. Questions on proclamation warrants? Let's go to item 3, which is advisory boards and commissions.
So as discussed yesterday, I've emailed the 4 applicants for the Timberland Regional Library Board of Trustees, inviting them to an interview the first week upon return from recess. I received a 5th application this morning from James Murray of Lacey, so it's not included in your packet, but I will distribute that to the aides today. They also seem like a strong applicant and are currently involved in local library projects. So if you'd like me to invite them to interview as well, we can.
Yep, I'd say bring them in.
So we have 5 applicants?
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay, perfect. And
then next, we've received 2 applications for reappointment to the Historic Commission. As you likely know, the Historic Commission has had a handful of vacancies for some time. These 2 applicants are active with the commission and have expressed their interest to continue serving. If you would like to move forward with these reappointments, I recommend including them on this afternoon's agenda, given the upcoming summer recess and number of vacancies that will still exist on the commission.
everyone okay with reappointing those folks? There's still eligible seats and. Yep. We should probably keep them going. All right, sounds good.
So like with the library board and us only having 1 position but having multiple applicants, is there any effort given to like let the applicants know of all the vacancies on other boards?
I didn't include that in my correspondence with them yesterday, but I can.
Thank you. There can only be 1. You're like,
Okay, well, it looks like a great crop, so looking forward to that. Any other questions on advisory boards and commissions for Amy? No? Thank you. Public,
Can we
Pete,
do
yeah.
proclamations and awards? Did we cover that?
we did.
Did you report on the BIPOC mental health?
I did not. Received a request to include a proclamation for the BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month in July on a July Board of County Commissioners agenda, since the Board of Health is canceled in July. And
Do we have a meeting on the 16th?
16th and the 30th.
This should be the 16th then, if we're gonna do it.
So yeah, my recommendation is to kind of do the similar thing that we did with, I was trying to see if we could add it for the Board of Health, but just due to holidays, it just won't be possible for July. And so I guess my request is to add it to kind of the July consent agenda. And then I can speak a little bit on it, or Chair, if you would like to speak a little bit on it, I can give you a little snippet. And just have it on the consent agenda, just same as we did with the prosecutor's office.
I would hope as long as we're being consistent, I'm still salty about Pike Month.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm confused, is that the clerk explained to me that we have a calendar, and I saw some not get added because we had the calendar, so we've been instructing folks that we will take those and consider them for next year.
Yeah, for a full proclamation. We've squeezed a couple in for various reasons as a consent item.
Sure.
And that was mainly because of, I mean, I don't know about this one, but I know like the one we did for Therapeutic Court Month, it was sort of like, it was like, or there was actually another one where we did it because they're getting all the jurisdictions to do it, you know, and we wanted to be part of that, but we weren't doing a formal proclamation, so we just put on the consent agenda, then they could have their sort of packet to show, hey, all the jurisdictions supported this. It was sort of it didn't take any extra board time, really.
That's what I'm requesting. It's not to do an actual presentation, but just to add it to the consent agenda.
Okay, just so that Amy and I know how to direct staff, if they request something, how you want to handle this.
I mean, I would tell the board, like, if it's not on the yearly calendar, then that's your option to ask the board to consider that. And that would be case by case, if it's something short of a full proclamation. And we've done it where just the chair just does a recognition. And we've done it where we've actually put a proclamation on consent. No discussion about it, really. Just a short comment, and it's on the consent agenda.
You want us to take those and consider them for the next, because I wasn't here the first time you guys made that calendar.
Yeah.
You want us to take those and add them to the list of considerations for next year?
Sure. I think Amy gives us, it's a pretty voluminous list that we look at every January.
A 4-hour meeting, figuring out which ones are winners and which ones aren't.
So will the board be okay with adding that to the July's consent calendar, and I will have a resolution out for board members to review?
See a nod. Commissioner Edwards?
What's that?
Commissioner, are you okay with Commissioner Mejia's proposal to just put this on for consent agenda?
Oh, I'm fine, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I think you have enough votes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we're back to PIO.
Morning, Commissioners. Megan Porter, Communications Manager. Two quick updates for you. The Friday 5 is going to go out this Friday, and then it will also recess along with the board. So the next one won't be until that third week of July. I want to give just a few data points on that. So the number of subscribers we have right now is 1,126. An open rate of 48%, which is 13% above the industry average, and then click rate of 7%, which is 2% above the industry average. And we have also found that if commissioners share the Friday 5, it gets more subscribers. So please make sure that you're sharing that so people are seeing the great work that the county is doing. And then also I would like to announce that we have hired someone for the public information specialist internal communications position, and they will start on July 8th. So I will have a full team again.
You'll introduce them to us then?
Yes, I will introduce him at the following. He'll be in the office, so we'll around to meet you.
Friday 5 looked really good, Megan.
Anna's doing a great job.
Nice to see that. Okay, anything for Megan? Okay, so now we have 2 executive sessions. Each one is slated at about 30 minutes, which should be perfect for the time we have left in this meeting. The first executive session is pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1B to consider selection of a site or acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. Purchase of a building is the generic topic. We'll have 30 minutes. Commissioner's action may follow. We'll go immediately into another executive session pursuant to 4230-110-1 sub I to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency matters relating to the agency enforcement actions, or discuss with legal counsel litigation or potential litigation to which the agency governing body or member acting in an official capacity is or is likely to become a party when public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. Emergency rental assistance is the high-level topic there. Again, 30 minutes. Again, Commissioner's action may follow. So we will be back in around 11:55 to hopefully take any action or not, and then adjourn the meeting. It's 11:50 a.m. We're out of executive sessions, and the first executive session direction was given to staff regarding the continued negotiation on the building that's being, was discussed. And then as the second executive session, again, these are not formal legislative actions, but direction was given regarding an approach to dealing with a response to an inquiry we got from state and federal authorities. So the appropriate direction was given by the board, and we're at the end of the morning's agenda.
Further action.
Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn? Okay, we're back at 2 p.m. for our board meeting, and until then, we're adjourned.